If you've been paying attention to gaming news recently, you more than likely have seen that a lot of people have been laid off in the gaming industry as a whole. With late last year, Embracer Group laying off more than 900 people, and also Activision Blizzard letting go 1,900 people. And as of recently, PlayStation laid off 900 people, and yesterday EA laid off 700 people. More than 10,000 people in gaming have lost their job, and the question is why?
Look how they massacred my boy.
The truth is a lot more simple than people think. The gaming industry is going through a collapse. But oftentimes when I say collapse, it gets misconstrued into thinking that collapse means like the 1983 Atari Shock gaming collapse that happened, when in reality this is on a different scale. The truth is the game industry has done enough, or just enough, to avoid a catastrophe like that. Nonetheless, a collapse. It's not to say that it can't escalate to that level, because let's be real here, if you keep making bad decisions, more bad things will start happening. And let's not underestimate the fact that yes, it can happen. I just don't think it will, because they've done enough to avoid it so far. And here's some reasons why it's happening and how I think they can improve.
Scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Technology oftentimes is a shock and fad finder to be able to have the thing that has the most shock value that appeals to the most people. And the unfortunate thing is that consumers fall for it all the time and oftentimes ask for those things. I am one of those people. I love me some shiny graphics. I really love me some shiny graphics. But oftentimes do we ask ourselves, is that really necessary for the full vision of this game? Is 4K really necessary for me to understand what this story and this gameplay is trying to tell me, or try to make me have fun? And oftentimes the answer is absolutely not. I bet you the majority of people watching this video can't tell when 1440p is upscaled to 4K. But most people want that true 4K native experience, and it's like, why? Or demand that a certain game gets ray tracing, when the truth is it more than likely doesn't need it to convey the message or the gameplay that it's trying to show you. And those technologies are in their infancy stages. For example, ray tracing is not in the majority of games, but is often demanded by AAA games, and the AAA studios often feel that they need to do that or people won't buy their games. And that costs time and money to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah? Well, I challenge you to prove to me that I'm fat.
Okay, hang on. See this?
Yeah?
You know what it is?
Duh, it's an apple.
Good. All right, watch this.
What the hell? What is this? What is this, some kind of gag?
No, that's orbit.
Huh?
You have your own gravitational pull.
So there are two games recently that came out that don't have a large budget or don't have a large amount of staff working on the game, and that's Palworld and Helldivers 2. And to be honest with you, both of those games are some of the most fun games I've ever played in my life. Helldivers 2 really has this new, fresh approach that is fun and not necessarily one of the most highly funded games. It more than likely has a budget of $80 to $90 million. And there are plenty of other examples that did the very same thing, just for some reason decided to hire a bunch of people for no reason whatsoever. The best example that I can give you is Spider-Man versus Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5. While Spider-Man costs about $100 to $120 million to make, it also had an overinflated staff. For example, Spider-Man 2018 had a story lead, 2 writers, and that's it. Spider-Man 2 had 1 story manager, 1 senior story editor, 1 director of story management, 2 narrative director, 1 senior narrative director, 1 senior narrative coordinator, 1 senior narrative director, 2 associate narrative directors, 1 advanced narrative coordinator, 5 advanced writers, 1 advanced senior writer, 2 senior writers, 3 writers, an unnecessary amount of people that are hired that can more than likely be contract workers or have a more concentrated story. Oh, by the way, you know how I mentioned that Spider-Man had a budget of $120 million? Well, that budget went up to $320 million in Spider-Man 2, which is absolutely insane. God of War had a similar thing happen to it as well, where the first God of War was more focused and it had a $120 million budget. God of War Ragnarok had around the same budget as Spider-Man 2 with $340 million budget. While the game went on to sell great and did great numbers, it of course didn't make as much profit as the first game and wasn't as critically acclaimed. The same thing can be said with Spider-Man vs. Spider-Man 2. While I love Spider-Man 2 and I love some of the things it did in its gameplay improvements, the story was objectively worse than Spider-Man. That's not to say that it wasn't good, it's just Spider-Man felt more concentrated and knew what it wanted to be. And the unfortunate thing what happens when you overhire people is that you're gonna let some of that people go in order to make more profits in the future. The way that this can be fixed is with contract work. Recently, they were telling the CEO of Helldivers 2 if he's going to do more hiring considering the success of what's going on with Helldivers. And his answer was no. One of the worst things you can do as a company is overhiring a bunch of people, and once they're not needed anymore, to let them go. And the best way to counter that is with contract work. And I quote the Helldiver CEO, "The act of overhiring to then do layoffs is a horrible practice and a bad experience for employees," he explained. Use short-term solutions for short-term problems, such as outsourcing contractors or limited time agreements. I really hope that the industry can take this to heart of the things that are happening and do the necessary changes that I know that they can do, because they've done it before with different eras of gaming. PlayStation did it with the PS3 era, Xbox 360 did it with the Xbox era as well. And Nintendo has taken it to more of an extreme, I would say. I wouldn't do it exactly the way they're doing it, but they're small budget games that bring out a lot more through gameplay and storytelling are doing great on the market right now. I wouldn't take it to the extreme that they're doing it, but it is an example. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you watch another video. I would greatly appreciate it. And remember, you're pretty good.